Coming up on Empower with Tristan Canfor-Dumas.
Live life and let life live. It's never been easier to be successful in the world that we live in today. Information is so ubiquitous. Anything that you want to learn, you're just one YouTube video away from finding out.
Yeah.
Just one. It's so crazy, bro. As painful as it may sound, there's nothing special. There's nothing distinctly special about people in Wharton.
Hello. Welcome back to the show. My name is Tristan Canfor-Dumas, and I'm here to empower you to elevate your lives. Today, listen. I know some of y'all may not know who this person is, but this person has, bro, the mind is crazy, bro. And this, I don't even know the ways I can use to describe this. Like, his name is Socrates. Just that should tell you enough. His name is Socrates. This conversation is going to be interesting. It's going to be something, you know. We're going to really talk about some stuff, some real stuff. And yeah, man, without further ado, sit back, relax, enjoy, but most importantly, take notes. Socrates, welcome to Empower. Welcome to the show. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling excited, I must be honest, for sure. I mean, I just got here, the vibe is pretty chill. The place is quite comfy. It's cold outside, but it's exciting. I'm excited for this podcast. I'm excited to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, bro. It is for those who don't know, it is snowing right now. Like it's snowing. Like
it's so cold to the extent that I couldn't feel my fingers. It was so bad, and I was wearing gloves, and in the gloves I had gloves.
Yeah, it's honestly it's very, 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 very cold. So Socrates, this is a question that I ask all of my guests when they come onto the show. It's a very simple question, but it does tend to trump people up a bit, you know.
Yeah, I'm already scared.
Don't worry. It's not a bad question. It's a quite simple question. The question is, who is Socrates?
Who is Socrates? Bro, that's a very punchy question. And you come to think about it, the entire foundation of philosophy is just based on that simple question. Who is you? Who am I? But who is Socrates, I might say so? Is Socrates the position I occupy? Is Socrates my achievements? Is Socrates the values and principles I embody? Is Socrates my life experiences and my inclinations? Is Socrates my leisure activities and things that matter to me? But I'll just give a resume introduction, just to put context into this. So Socrates is a Kenyan who is currently studying at the University of Pennsylvania in the Huntsman program, where I do a dual degree in international studies, business, and French. Something really exciting about me is I personally love the art of public speaking. I mean, the art just being in front of an audience, staring right into their eyes, and passing a message across, and you see a certain shimmer and glare in their eyes. And when you feel that, like you're in tandem with your audience, reverberating on the same frequency, existing on the same wavelength, that is really special. So that's something that has been so sacrosanct to me. I mean, the bit of public speaking, in French we call it l'art de bien parler. L'art de convaincre une audience. C'est ça ce qui m'intéresse. It really speaks to me. So that is just but a sneak peek into Socrates. And that's a very resume-like description. But I think we're good.
Okay. Yes, guys. Also, a special thing in this episode. I don't know if you guys could pick it up, but Socrates can speak French. And I can speak French. So what we're going to do is we're going to have like a little part of this episode in French. And if you guys don't want to hear the French, I'm going to put like a timestamp for you to just skip to when we stop speaking the French. But for those who are interested in hearing the conversation and what it is that we talk about, yeah, don't worry, it'll be there. But before we go into switching into French and start speaking about that, I'd like you to go into detail or let us know, how did you even end up at the University of Pennsylvania? Because from what you said, you come from Kenya.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that I know that are from Kenya. How did you go from Kenya to University of Pennsylvania?
It's been a long journey. Long journey. Because I finished high school in 2022 December.
Oh, okay.
So I finished school 2 years ago. So coming up, just getting here has been a 2-year journey. That's how long of a journey it is. It wasn't finish high school, go to Penn. It was finish high school, and there was so much that was happening within that period of time that alluded to this. So here's the story. So I finished high school December 2022. That's when I graduated. So in Kenya, I was on the KCSE, the Kenya Certificate of Secondary Education. It's one exam. You do it. It determines which course you're going to take in university. And so the best minds in the country, they're going to the top 4 courses. That's medicine, architecture, engineering, or law. If it doesn't fall within that sphere of the 4, then you're not doing a serious course. Your parents will tell you, go do a serious course. Anything other than law, engineering, architecture, and medicine is not a serious course. You might as well forget about it. So luckily, I was called to do medicine. I was on a medicine track, and my entire high school, I was like, I'm going to become a doctor, a cardiologist. Everything was well positioned. Like, yeah, I do this. There was some programs at a place called Aga Khan. Everything was done. That we do this, do that, become a cardiologist, blah, blah, blah. Everything was laid out. Then somewhere along the line, I was like, you know what, Socrates? I'm the kind of person who I would rather be in spaces where I connect with people, I talk, I engage. I'm not the kind of person to lock myself up in a room studying anatomy from sunrise to sunset. Not that I have anything against doing medicine. I don't have anything against doctors. But I'm just saying, to each their own.
Yeah.
To each their own. And that was not for me. And I could not even imagine myself with a lab coat. Next, please. No, it wasn't for me. So then I was like, okay, fine. I had some sort of an existential crisis because all my entire life I've always wanted to become a doctor. And something that happens in Kenya, so teachers, parents, and your guardians alike brainwash you. Yes, they brainwash you, but they don't know they're brainwashing you. So this is what they do. So you do well in school. They say, this boy is very bright. He's so smart. He'll be a wonderful doctor. Then you're like, so I do well in school. After doing well in school, I get accolades from people who are older than me, my superiors. So because I get accolades, and these accolades are linked to becoming a doctor, therefore academic excellence is equals to being a doctor. And so it starts from a very young age. You don't even notice it. You ask kids, what do you want to become? Oh, doctor. Why? They don't know why, but it's just something that has been repeated and regurgitated over and over again. The thing that they want to do it. So I was in the same situation all my entire life. Do well in school, he's going to be a good doctor. Do well in school, he's going to be a good doctor. And when I realized that my entire life, my loftiest ambition was not something that I was appealed to, I was like, okay, fine, what next? Like all my life I've always wanted to become a doctor. So I'm not going to become a doctor, what next? And that's how I picked up French.
Speaking about French, which is where now, guys, the conversation is switching. I'm sorry, guys, but yeah, we are switching. Speaking of French, bon, on va juste changer maintenant comme ça. Si vous n'aimez pas ce qu'on dit, il y aura, je vais mettre quelque part dans la vidéo où vous pouvez juste partir en avant pour voir. Mais Socrates, comment est-ce que vous avez commencé à parler français?
Mec, en tout cas, c'est pas du tout juste. Parce que les autres qui ne parviennent pas à comprendre ce que nous allons dire.
Ouais,
mais quand même, c'est ça la vie.
T'as vu, non? Si vous voulez comprendre, je ne veux pas vous dire qu'il y aura des sous-titres parce qu'il n'y aura pas de sous-titres. Mais quand même, si tu veux comprendre, je crois que... Bon, je sais pas. S'il veut comprendre, je ne sais pas ce que tu vas dire. Je ne sais pas ce qu'il peut faire.
Moi, j'ai une solution. Parce que nous vivons dans un monde de l'intelligence artificielle. Vous pouvez faire... il pouvait... c'est quoi? Enregistrer ce parti... Et puis il fait la traduction, et puis il va entendre cette partie en anglais. Mais quand même,
c'est trop de travail. C'est trop de travail. Je vais peut-être le faire. Si vous le voyez maintenant et qu'on parle et tu vois que c'est anglais, c'est que je l'ai fait. Mais si je ne l'ai pas fait, quand même, faut laisser un like sur la vidéo pour moi. Mais Socrates, parlons de vous. Comment vous avez commencé à maîtriser la langue?
Donc, moi, j'étais à l'Alliance française de Nairobi. Et je commençais mon apprentissage de la langue française le mois de mars. Ça, c'était 2023.
Mars 2023, et tu parles comme ça maintenant?
Oui.
Donc, tu as commencé de zéro?
Zéro, nul.
Donc, tu ne savais pas comment parler du tout? Genre,
bien sûr, nous savons comment tu t'appelles.
Ah, tu connais genre les normales?
Comment tu t'appelles, oui. Oui, tout le monde le connaît.
Ok. Mais tu as vraiment commencé...
Donc, niveau 1-1. Tu connais Delphes? Delphes, nous, A1, A2, B1, B2, C1, C2, ce sont les niveaux, les étapes. oui.
Donc, c'est comme ça que tu as
Donc,
commencé.
j'ai commencé à l'Alliance française de Nairobi en 2023, le mois de mars. Je me rappelle très bien, c'était le mois de mars, le 11e.
Ok.
Donc, c'est ça, je faisais 1-1. Et comme je te disais, je ne faisais rien que le français.
Ah, ok.
Parce que ça m'a donné le son de vie, ça m'a
Yeah.
insoufflé. Donc, je faisais le français pour toute la journée, en fait. J'écoutais les podcasts, je faisais mes travaux plutôt. J'ai entendu des enregistrements sur YouTube. J'ai parlé avec les francophones. Moi, je me disais que chaque fois que je rencontrais un anglophone, ou un francophone plutôt,
Mhm.
on ne parlait pas
En anglais.
jamais en anglais.
Ouais, c'est tout
C'était
en français.
tout en français.
Yeah.
Et c'était un règle d'or.
Euh,
Dès que je savais que tu parles français,
hmm.
l'anglais, on la jette dans la poubelle.
Donc, moi, ce que j'arrive pas à comprendre maintenant, c'est que tu as commencé en 2023.
Oui, 2023.
Et maintenant, on est en janvier 2025. Et il parle avec moi. On est en conversation comme si tout est normal. Comme s'il parlait français de toute sa vie. C'est... Si vous comprenez maintenant ce qui se passe. Let me translate for people who are not understanding. He learned French in a year. In 1 year. Ok, on va continuer on va continuer en français. Man, juste de partir... Hey, comment... J'arrive pas à vraiment comprendre comment quelqu'un peut partir de niveau 1 jusqu'à où tu es maintenant.
Oui.
Où tu peux me parler comme si tu savais comment parler français de toute ta vie. Comme si tu parlais français normalement avec tes parents ou bien t'as des amis. Quelle est quelque chose que tu as fait quelle est la chose que tu as fait qui t'a vraiment aidé à parler ou bien à comprendre la
Oui.
langue?
Tout d'abord, ce que je faisais à ce moment-là, je me suis entouré avec les gens qui parlent français. C'était d'abord ça, l'environnement.
Ok.
Je sais que tu as déjà lu, ça s'appelle comment, Atomic Habits by
James Clear.
James Clear.
Yeah.
D'abord, ce qui compte, c'est l'environnement.
Yeah.
Ça commence par là.
Ok.
Si l'environnement ne change pas, donc rien n'a changé.
Ok.
Donc, les gens qui m'entouraient à ce moment-là étaient capables de parler en français. Donc, ils étaient mes amis, mes camarades à l'Alliance française de Nairobi. Et chaque fois que nous étions ensemble, on a parlé en français. C'était ça. Et dès que je trouvais quelqu'un qui parle français, c'était juste moi le français, pas anglais. Mais j'avais des amis qui viennent de Congo et de l'île de Comores. Parce qu'il avait envie de mieux maîtriser l'anglais et moi j'avais envie de raffiner mon français. On disait, bah oui, ok, ça va. Moi je parle anglais couramment. Toi tu parles français couramment. Je vais te rendre visite chaque semaine pour 1 heure. 30 minutes, on va parler en français, 30 minutes, on va parler en anglais. Donc, moi, je profite, tu profites, ça y est. Donc, je faisais ça pour beaucoup de temps. Mais ça ne restait pas là. J'ai continué encore, parce que moi, je suis quelqu'un qui est vraiment artistique. Et je me disais, quelles sont les choses que je peux faire en anglais? Et y a-t-il des opportunités pour les faire encore en français? Donc, j'ai commencé la poésie en français parce que moi, je suis poète. J'ai écrit les articles en français parce que moi, je suis écrivain. Et chaque fois que j'avais une opportunité pour prendre la parole devant une audience, c'était juste en français. Et l'Alliance française de Nairobi m'a donné beaucoup d'opportunités pour faire ça.
Ok.
Donc, c'était les étapes, petit à petit, mais ça accumulait. Mais en tout cas, c'est le début. Le début, c'est la merde. Le début, parce que tu ne sais pas, tu ne sais rien en fait. Tu ne sais pas pourquoi tu ne sais rien. Et tu ne sais pas que tu sais rien.
Yeah.
Mais après ça, c'est...
Ça devient plus facile.
Oui. En anglais, we call it beginner's... c'est quoi? Beginner's purgatory. Beginner's purgatory. C'est l'enfer de les débutants.
Wow. Moi, ce que je prends de ce que tu viens juste de dire maintenant, c'est que tu t'es mis dans des situations où tu n'es pas vraiment confortable.
Oui.
Tu t'es mis dans des situations où tu étais forcé à grandir. Et je pense que ça, c'est quelque chose que les gens qui nous écoutent peuvent prendre. C'est de te mettre dans des situations où tu n'es pas vraiment confortable. De te mettre dans des situations où tu as besoin. C'est nécessaire de grandir. Et je pense que bon, ton histoire d'apprendre français, c'est un testament à ton caractère. Je pense que c'est quelque chose qui peut vraiment inspirer les gens. Et ça m'inspire moi aussi à vraiment... Parce que moi, si ce n'était pas pour l'école française, moi, j'allais pas savoir comment parler français. Et maintenant, moi, je parle plus français normalement avec des personnes. Parce que moi, quand je te parle maintenant, je te parle en anglais. Donc, je pense que maintenant, de maintenant je vais juste te parler en français. Ça, c'est quelque chose que je pense que je dois faire avec toi parce que vraiment, il faut que je continue à apprendre. Parce que même moi, mon niveau de français a vraiment baissé. Parce que, bon, avant...
C'est l'environnement, en fait.
Ouais, c'est
C'est
l'environnement.
l'environnement.
Parce que je suis... Il y a tout le monde ici qui parle seulement anglais.
C'est la même chose quand j'étais au Kenya. Parce que Kenya, c'est un pays anglophone.
Yeah.
Donc, si je ne prenais pas des efforts
Exactement.
pour maîtriser la langue, donc ça aurait été juste un rêve.
Yeah, exactement. Donc, je pense que c'est ça ce que je dois faire. Parce que vraiment, moi... C'est pas que j'essaye pas, mais j'essaye pas. Tu vois, je prends pas des efforts pour vraiment maîtriser la langue. Donc, il faut que je sorte de mon zone de confort parce que je pense que c'est ça qui ne m'aide pas.
Oui, tu me rappelles de mon professeur de B2. Il s'appelle Jules. Il me disait, sortez-vous dans ta zone de confort. Parce que nous étions en classe.
Yeah.
Niveau B2, donc c'était presque au sommet du pyramide de la langue. Donc, chaque fois que nous étions en classe et personne lui parle, et on nous parlait avec le présent, le passé composé, les temps simples. Il disait, sortez-vous dans ta zone de confort, sortez-vous. Et puis, il avait les lunettes, les petites lunettes, très petits, juste comme ça. Les petits avec des grands yeux. Donc, quand il t'interviewe, juste comme ça, droit aux yeux, il te dit sortez-vous. Et puis c'était juste comme ça, il s'avançait. C'était face à face. Sortez-vous dans ta zone de confort.
Donc il te regarde face à face.
Face à face, il te regarde. Sortez-vous.
Yeah. Wow. Ça c'est quelque chose. Wow. Moi, je me souviens plus des leçons de français vraiment comme ça. Parce que bon, moi, tu vois, pour moi, c'était... je suis passé dans un système français au début. Et on avait des leçons en anglais.
Oui.
Genre, c'était comme quand tu es dans une école française et tu apprends une autre langue. C'est aussi comme quand tu es dans une école anglaise et tu as français,
Oui.
des classes de français. C'était la même chose, mais en envers. So, c'était genre quand j'étais à l'école française. Et on parlait en français. À la maison, je parlais en anglais. Donc, quand on avait des classes en anglais, c'était très simple pour moi. Maintenant que je suis passé dans une école anglaise, quand je parle français, il n'y a plus personne qui parle français avec moi, sauf que dans les classes français. Et même dans les classes français, tu sais vraiment que les niveaux, c'est pas vraiment quelque chose
c'est pas
que tu veux parler. C'est des trucs simples comme je m'appelle, je
Tu
viens
viens
de... Tu
oui,
vois, comme ça, j'ai 3 sœurs, j'ai 2 frères.
J'aime manger des
J'aime
frites,
manger des
des
vois, des trucs comme ça.
hamburgers.
Il y avait une petite interruption, mais on est ici, on continue. Mais vraiment, ouais, ce que je disais avant, c'est que pour moi, la langue, c'était pas vraiment quelque chose où il fallait que vraiment j'essaye pour apprendre. C'était quelque chose que j'étais juste... C'était nos parents qui nous ont mis dans les situations où on devait apprendre. Donc, c'était pas vraiment de moi où j'ai décidé de, oui, maintenant, je veux vraiment apprendre. Donc, même avec mon frère aussi, il sait comment parler français, mais je lui parle plus en français. Donc, c'est ça maintenant que je dois essayer de changer pour vraiment me mettre dans des situations où il faut que je parle la langue. Parce que si tu ne parles pas français régulièrement, genre, c'est très difficile.
Ça diminue.
Exactement.
If you don't choose it, you lose it.
Exactement. Donc maintenant, je suis dans une situation où mon français, ça a vraiment baissé. Et ça aussi, ça affecte ma confiance quand je parle français. Parce que maintenant, je ne suis pas vraiment sûr des mots ou bien de la conjugaison. Ou bien comment vraiment utiliser certaines choses comme ça. Tu vois, tu connais des trucs comme ça. Exactement. Mais vraiment, je pense que ce que tu as dit de changer ton histoire en apprendre français, je pense que c'est quelque chose que moi, je peux vraiment apprendre. Donc, oui, on that note, we're changing back to English.
Back to English.
for the people who've been watching, if you watched that whole part in French, like the video, say you watched the whole part in French. I had to do it, I just had to try it out and see how it was. Personally, I like it. There'll be sometimes in the next few videos, maybe I will speak French. You never do something like that. But he basically, as I was saying, this guy learns French in a year. You can't tell me it's not possible to learn a language. If you want to learn a language, you can't tell me it's not possible. Anyways, I want to go into one, philosophy, because that is something that I see is tied to your name. Whenever, first of all, your name, Socrates. Have you asked your parents why they named you Socrates?
So I asked them why they call me Socrates, and they gave me an interesting response. So what happened the eve of my birth? My dad had an epiphany. And in his epiphany, he recalled one of his philosophy classes when he was studying back in the days. And because he had the epiphany during the eve of my birth, and he recalled Socrates, the philosopher, because you have the Socratic method of analysis, the Socratic method of inquiry, and you have Socrates as a very paragon figure in the entire architecture of philosophy. I mean, it's very difficult to mention philosophy without reading back to Socrates. And from that moment, he was like, you know what? We're going to name our son Socrates. And just like that, that's how the story unraveled. And I took up the name, of which I don't know how. And you're going to tell me about this. I'm called Socrates, and I'm incredibly philosophical. If I could just do philosophy the whole day and just have vibes with it. Just think for the sake of thinking, philosophize for the sake of philosophizing, just for the funsies. For the funsies, bro. I will personally do it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I became philosophical because I'm called Socrates. I'm called Socrates because I became philosophical. So it's like a chicken and egg dilemma.
Yeah.
You don't know which one came first. If my name was James or Peter,
You don't know whether you still have that edge.
yeah.
I think, honestly speaking, the name that you are given, it says a lot about you. That's why it's very important to think about the names you're naming your people, your children. Honestly, I would say that the name had an effect. It had something, an impact on how your personality. I don't know the meaning. You know the meaning of Socrates.
The philosopher himself?
Like what does that name mean? Like the meaning of that. Do you know the meaning?
I don't know the meaning of the name Socrates.
Okay.
But I know the meaning of the person.
Okay. So do you know what I think happened?
Tell me.
This is my theory.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So my theory is that your parents named you after Socrates, right?
Yeah.
When you were born and you started asking like, hey, why is my name Socrates? And like no one else's name is like, the only other person's name is Socrates. He does philosophy. That repetition of saying that, oh, you were named after a philosopher, you were named after a philosopher, you were named after a philosopher, that has kind of entered into your subconscious mind. And you are thinking like, okay, maybe I might be interested in philosophy. So it's like the small things that just kept coming. Like it was like little stimuli that was just slowly like getting your mind warm to the idea of philosophy.
Yeah.
And so when philosophy came up, it's like, oh, I'm named after a philosopher. I mean, it should make sense.
Yeah, it should make sense. It's expected.
That type of thing. So it's like, that's why I'm saying that the name does have that power. I feel like an interesting question to probably ask is, if your parents didn't tell you why they named you Socrates, if your parents said that they named you Socrates just because they just named you Socrates, they didn't name you after a philosopher, would you still have that interest in philosophy?
I guess we can never know, bro.
I
guess we can never know.
Yeah. So speaking of philosophy, right? As I said, I want to pick your brains.
Okay. Don't harass me. Don't harass my brain.
Let's. I want to get philosophical here.
Okay.
Right. What are some of the? What are some of the? I want to say hardest questions, or maybe the most introspective questions that you have come through, or you've come about in your years of looking and delving into the world of philosophy?
One of them, not even just one, but some of the introspective questions that I've stumbled upon while delving into philosophy is how human beings create meaning out of their existence. And I find it remarkably interesting how you can have, the story of the twins who grew up in different challenging circumstances, or let's say twins grew up in challenging circumstances, father was an alcoholic, right? The first child says, my father is an alcoholic, then that means that this is not the kind of person I want to become, so I do everything to not become like my father, and ends up prospering. The other one says, oh, I'm better, or life is tough, my father's an alcoholic, I'm a loser, I suck. Then because of that frame of mind, also become an alcoholic. So it's similar circumstances, but the perception is different. And it goes back to how people extract meaning out of their life experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And it treads into something called phenomenology.
Okay.
Phenomenology is how you extract meaning out of the phenomena that exist in the world we live in today, which is very interesting. That's just one of them, just seeing how the interplay occurs, how people can be in similar situations.
Yeah, but they extract something different.
But they extract something completely different.
I think that comes down to paradigm.
I
think that comes down to the influences on your life. I think that even ties back again to what you were saying about how they make sense of what has happened to them in their lives. So it's like, again, using that example, let's say something like they go ice skating, right? And they fall down. One sister could be like, I'm never doing ice skating again because that thing is so hard. And another sister is like, she fell down and is like, okay, I didn't do well this time, but I still like it. Let me still go back and try because it's my first time. And that also ties back again to what you're saying, the phenomena thing. And I feel like it's just those little instances that have just been built up over time that kind of form now how they view the world. It impacts their lens and how they see the world. So maybe one person may be risk averse, and some person maybe what's the opposite of risk averse?
Bullish.
Okay. Someone may be maybe running towards the risk.
Yeah, that's bullish.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think that also, that's what I'm saying, that it comes back from the paradigm, but the paradigm is also influenced by the phenomena and what it is actually that happens. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
100% I concur with you. But again, if you're to go back to the many situations that culminated into that,
Yeah.
you don't know which one it is. You only know
Yeah.
at the point of testing.
Yeah.
At the point of examination, that's when you know that, fine, it's the many tiny bits that has accumulated into that.
Yeah.
But which are those many tiny bits?
Which ones?
You don't know them because it's just everything brought together.
It's all like a mix.
A mix that now
It kind of forms into something
a
that's
snowball
Yeah.
that actually alludes to that.
Yeah.
But even something more interesting, bro. While I was in Kenya, I was always asking myself such kind of fundamental questions. Like every people have. Why do certain people succeed and others don't? What are some of the core tenets that they showcase that others don't? And the people have written books about, these people have spoken, we have plethora of podcasts, deluge of information out there, elaborating and explaining, giving checklists, do this, do that. We had the 5 a.m. club. That was a thing during COVID. It hit. Then the 5 a.m. club was phased out. People moved on to, we had the growth mindset. Then the 5 a.m. club. Then with the 5 a.m. club, we had the podcast era. People were really, really heavy on podcasts. And it's still just continuing round and on and on and on. People just trying to answer the question, why do certain people succeed and others people don't? And even right now, I'm in Wharton. At the University of Pennsylvania, I'm in the Wharton School of Business. And it's one of the most, can I say, prestigious or sought-after programs to get into the world. And every single time I'm observing, so this is the la creme de la creme, the best that the world has to offer, so as to say. So what are some of the hallmarks that they showcase that I don't see anywhere else? And I'm trying to do this comparative analysis of how was my education experience in Kenya vis-a-vis here in the US. Just trying to make sense out of the situation, observing every single step of the way. And I find that incredibly fascinating.
What has been some of your observations so far?
Some of the observations that I've made, and of course myself included, because I'm in Wharton. So of course I'm observing myself. it's as painful as it may sound. There's nothing special. There's nothing distinctly special about people in Wharton. But they have certain attributes that set them apart. And based on what I've noticed is they're intellectually curious and they're very proactive. These guys are aggressive. They're like bloodhounds. When it comes to seeking opportunities, putting themselves in strategic positions where they can grow and advance themselves in terms of professional and their lofty ideals, they're incredibly aggressive. For them, they don't hear a no. A no is just a yes yetting to manifest. They don't hear a no. And let me just delve a little further in a bit of intellectual curiosity and proactiveness.
Yeah.
Like, for example, intellectual curious. They ask themselves the fundamental questions. Why are things the way they are and can they be different? Proactiveness, where after asking themselves these questions, they make very deliberate steps on satisfying that initial curiosity. And from then on, they build from that. That's why they start from one summer project to another summer project to another research project. Before you know it, they have an entire resume, incredibly polished, looking very brazen. With other people, they don't ask themselves the fundamental questions, and they don't make the step forward to actually pursue them. And I think it's a bit of disconnect. But one might argue there's a disconnect because of access to opportunities. But again, it's never been easier to be successful in the world that we live in today. Information is so ubiquitous. Anything that you want to learn, you're just one YouTube video away from finding out.
Yeah.
Just one. It's so crazy, bro. And actually, that ties up to the next philosophical inquiry that I've been having all this while. I personally feel, deep in my heart, that social media itself, the entire essence, the spirit of social media, is changing the world as we know it today. Completely. You're just one YouTube video from finding out anything.
Yeah.
This podcast can be played to someone who's back in Accra. This podcast can be played to someone who's back in Nairobi. And they're going to know Tristan.
Yeah.
And they're going to know the Empower podcast.
Oh, that's crazy.
And they're going to buy Elevate books.
Buy the book.
Buy the books. Buy the books. The books were bought to be bought. Okay? They were wrote to be bought. Buy the books.
Yeah. Yeah, but I get your point. That is.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it is. It's the interconnectedness of the world. I think I think that's just it's something that you can tie to globalization, in the sense that the world is becoming closer and closer. That the geographical distance is no longer felt, because I can easily maintain a relationship with people that are like halfway across the world. It's not as hard as it was back then. Now, bro, you have things like FaceTime and stuff like it's so easy.
So easy.
YouTube, like, then you know, so funny. What you said is actually true, because people have, like, I went for an NSB conference, and I always bring this example because this example just like I was so shocked. Like, that's when I
NSB,
realized
what does
that's
NSB stand
something.
for?
National Society of Black Engineers.
Yeah.
It's not really about only engineers. It's any black person in STEM. So basically, they had this 4 regional conference, right? And during the 4 regional conference, I was there. And on the first day, I went up and I just was going to introduce myself in front of like a room of people. And some girl came up to me. She was like, she's seen me before on YouTube, and that she's seen one podcast that I did with another podcast in Ghana called Stay by Plan. And she saw that and she was like, yeah, she's seen me. But when I mentioned my name, she's like, yeah, and then she knew it was me. She wanted to say hi. And I said, well, what school do you go? What school do you go to? She was like, oh, she goes to New Jersey. I think she said New Jersey, or some other place in America, which I have no idea who that person was, where that school is. But it was just the fact that somebody that I had no idea of knew about Empower and knew about what I was doing and knew who I was. I was like, that's only possible, one, because God is good. But the means and the medium is through the internet. It's through social media. Because you wouldn't be able to have that impact if you didn't have the social media. I think it would be a lot harder. I don't think you wouldn't be able to have it. I think it would just be significantly harder. Social media has made connecting and impacting not only communities but countries a lot easier. It's made it significantly easier. That now a lot of people that you think are like out of reach, they're actually in reach. And I feel like this is even leading us to something, because right now we actually don't have much time, because we have like 4 minutes left.
Yeah.
But
we can run it till 3. Let's see. Yeah, 3:30. They're cool at 3:30.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's
so we
great.
have 33 minutes.
All right, cool. That's great. Yeah. So what this is kind of leading me to one thing that I just realized. Tell us about introspective perspective.
Interesting. The introspective perspective. Like I've mentioned, I am poetic. Like I've mentioned, I'm poetic and I'm philosophical. So introspective perspective,
Yeah.
right? So I was thinking of how do I capture the essence of my social media presence? Because I love posting videos, I love conversing, I love engaging in dialogue, I love it so much, right? And I wanted something that was poetic, that had some rhythm to it, some some vibe to it. So like introspective, okay, introspective what? Introspective thoughts, no. Introspective perspective. Like introspective perspective, like yes,
Yeah,
there we have it.
clicks.
So the introspective perspective is what is the entire foundation of my YouTube channel and even most of the posts that I have on LinkedIn and even Instagram. So in the introspective perspective, as it's in the word, we take a deep dive into ideas, concepts, and even insights that have piqued my interest in the course of the week. And I try to summarize them in a very succinct manner that provokes thought, inspires, or informs. That is indeed the essence of the introspective perspective. And the reason why I started it is because I personally believe that each and every one of us has a gift. And it's a gift that we need to learn how to use. Because God has given each and every one of us a gift. And my gift is eloquence, the ability to speak and convey a message. And if I don't use it, I lose it. And so the introspective perspective is now a medium through which I can articulate ideas, concepts, and insights that have piqued my interest that might have some form of relevancy to my audience.
Okay.
Because the stories really matter.
It's the stories.
It's the stories.
That's one thing that I really try to pride myself on is telling these stories. Because I honestly think that whenever we hear about like advice that's being given, is always being given from like a higher up position.
Yeah.
That's what I've realized.
From an ivory tower of authority.
That's what I feel. I feel like people who give this type of advice or who are like having these type of conversations are generally people who are like, I'd say maybe more accomplished, or they are like doing bigger things, and so like their resume will speak for themselves. But I feel like it's all the more powerful if it comes from everyday people who like you, like me, people who are just students in general. Like, that's the whole essence of Empower, is to empower the youth by seeing people like us talking about these things, having these type of conversations. And so when I went, by the way, introspective perspective is that thing has been in my eyes. I saw that like once or twice, but that stuck with me since. So that means, and I saw that probably the first time I met you. That's when I looked you up and I started like watching a few of your videos and stuff. By the way, you guys, his channel is popping. He recorded some vlogs with him in Penn. His whole journey, like, yeah, bro. The video was valid, y'all. I'm going to put his YouTube and stuff in the description. You guys go watch his videos. Subscribe to his channel. He is also growing. He is also pushing the right message. But yeah, bro. I really want to go back into this philosophy thing because there are lots of debates that I like that I'm having, and I have a question for you. Do you believe in free will?
Free will. Do you want a philosophical response?
Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you a philosophical response. Because there is, for me personally, I normally have the two existing concurrently. The religious response that I live up to and the philosophical response.
Give us both then.
So I'm gonna start off the philosophical one. But I personally, as much as very philosophical, I understand the limits to philosophy. It gets to a point where we're asking the same question or we're back to where we started. That's where religion sheds light into the entire whole affair. But let me give you the philosophical response. Personally, I believe that we do have free will up to the point of decision making. up to the point of decision making, you have free will. Up to the point of decision making. So let's get a little bit technical here. We have etymology. I love etymology of words, and that's one of the most fundamental aspects in learning a language. Etymology, learning the root of the word, so that when you see it manifesting somewhere else, you recognize it very fast. Actually, to try back to French before I even respond to the question, one of the things that really helped me get better in French is getting better in English. Because look at this. There's so many words that overlap between English and French that if you just get the root form and you see the root form in English and recognize the root form in French, you realize that you're just knowing about the same stuff. The same stuff. But back to the word decision, right? For example, decision. In French is décider. In English is decision. The Latin form is décadre. So I just see that and I see both at the same time. So funny enough, the better I got at French, the better I got at English. It's funny. But back to the question. So the word decision has its own etymology. It's de means like to cut off. Then the bit of it, can't remember the Latin articulation, but I think it's cadre, something like that. And it simply means to lock yourself, to cut off possibilities. Because think about it, if this is a path, you make a decision to go left, then
you cut off the possibility.
You cut out the possibilities of right. That is why you say, I made the decision. You made the decision by considering the alternatives and forgoing one. And the one you forwent, forwent?
You understand what it means?
Forgot.
Yeah.
Forwent. Or whatever. And the one, I'll just say forwent. And the one that you English. And the one that you
don't worry.
Forfeited.
Yes.
The one that you forfeited,
yes.
right? Forfeited. And the one that you forfeited is what you gave up, right?
Yeah.
So decision is the one that you forfeited. And when you took that path, you locked yourself out from all the possibilities that this one would avail. By virtue of me being here means that, for example, I'm not in a diner eating, or I'm not in the library studying, or I'm not in the gym working out because I'm here. So I've locked myself out from all those possibilities that would have been available to me if I wasn't here, right?
But wouldn't free will still exist though? Because I feel like even if you have removed the possibility, like in the situation, in the example of you being here right now, couldn't you just easily just get up and leave and go to the dining hall? I
had free will not to be here.
Yeah.
If we could just a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, prior to coming here, I had two decisions. Coming and not coming.
Yeah.
And by coming, I eliminated the possibilities of not coming.
Of not coming. But now you're here.
Yes.
So now you have a new decision.
Now I have a new decision.
Whether to stay
to stay or to go.
Okay. Yeah. So once the decision is made, then that's when you've eliminated.
You forfeited your free will.
You forfeited
at the point of decision making. It's very philosophical. At that point of decision making, not a second more, not a second less.
Yeah.
You have free will. The moment
at the point you decide, you eliminate your free will. You
eliminate your free will at that point in time.
Because you are basically shedding away the other options.
Yes.
And you're picking one.
Yes. Then again, you're at the same crossroads. Now I'm at a different crossroads. Should I stay or should I leave? And the moment I leave, I've eliminated the possibilities of staying here. Now we're considering something else. Should I take the elevator or use the staircase?
Another one.
That's another one. So
then, summing everything up, then, would you then say that we have free will, like in a more general sense? Because it's all like in decisions.
Yes, at the point of decision making.
So if you're always constantly making these, because I feel like in a day you make a lot, countless decisions. I feel like every minute or every second, like there's a decision that you make to speak, not to speak.
Yeah.
To stand or not to stand.
Like
there's always a decision that's to be made. But once you make that decision, then that free will is gone if you're using what you're saying.
Yeah.
So then that means that if you're summing everything up, then you would have free will less than you would have it.
Yes.
So then if you were to say, as human beings, we have less free will than we think.
If we stretch that narrative, yes.
Okay. If we.
Yes. Just think of the professor who's working to get a tenureship. Tenureship, they have to dedicate, let's say, 15 to 20 years of research investing in that university, right? So the moment they got into that track, they have the free will of abandoning and doing something else. But the deeper they go into it, the tougher it is to get out. So that element of free will to do as they please is gradually corroded.
Mm-hmm.
That's how it plays out if we stretch this narrative to its absolute extent.
There's oh my days. I had this thing, right? Something. I'm trying to remember this thing because there was a point that I wanted to give. Like there was something that I wanted to give, and I wanted to see your thoughts on this. I think it's discipline. It's either discipline, it's something related to discipline. Maybe if you know about it, then you can help me. But I read somewhere, either I read somewhere it was a podcast, that discipline is a depreciating factor, or discipline is a something. It's a depreciating something. I've forgotten the full thing that was said, but basically, the whole point was that think of discipline. Yes, I remember it now. So they said think of discipline not as something that you should strive to have all the time, but think of it more as a depreciating asset, in the sense that when you wake up in the morning, you have a certain amount of discipline in you. And so let's say you've had like as soon as you wake up in the morning, you have a decision to make. Either you go on your phone, or you get out of bed and maybe you go and read a book.
Yeah.
The discipline not to do that, not to pick up your phone when you're supposed to pick up your phone, that has diminished the assets of discipline. Now you go throughout the day snacking, not to snack. Discipline. And it goes down even more. And let's say somebody says something at you, or somebody is very rude to you. The discipline not to respond, and not to come at them and be like, discipline. So then it goes down even more. And so you realize that throughout the day, there are so many instances that if you continue to choose the discipline, your discipline barometer, your discipline level goes down. And so when you reach the end of the day and it's like practically gone, any small thing can set you off. And that's why a lot of people, they get like, when they are tired, it's way easier to see their true self, or maybe like their raw self, like how they feel. Because I don't know if you realize this, but later in the evening, it's very easy to piss somebody off. It's very, very, very easy. And so that's kind of what the lens that I was looking at, and I want to know what you think about that.
It's a very interesting concept.
I don't know the word. I don't know if the word is discipline though. I think it's something else. Don't worry. Let's use for the sake of this conversation. Let's use discipline.
Okay, so let's use discipline. Let's try, for example, it's the start of the new year. Gym memberships, they're making profits. It's cash cows. Gyms are cash cows. Everyone has New Year resolutions. Gyms, cash cows. Healthy groceries, cash cows. Guys are just making money because everyone's like, this year is the year I finally get my 6-pack. This year is the year I cut down 50 pounds. This year is the year, as was last year, and as will be next year. So, let's say someone wants to become lean and fit. They wake up to go to the gym, so the discipline barometer diminishes. And the more they do it, the less discipline they have.
The less discipline it requires.
The less discipline it requires. Then it becomes
Normal.
automatic.
Exactly.
It becomes habituated into their lifestyle, incorporated into how they live and how they navigate in their lives. Now I see what you mean. So now, actually, funny enough, James Clear talks of something very, very similar. Is reducing the amount of friction to engage in activity.
Yeah.
So in terms of reducing the amount of friction, and we'll use as some example of going to the gym and working out and being fit, is if you want to reduce the amount of friction to go work out, just ensure that your gym bag is set and it's at the door.
Yeah.
Or you put it at your bedside when you wake up, you trip on it.
easy.
You trip on it. You're like, you don't forget. And you need to go work out.
Yeah.
Or alternatively is when you need to study and you leave your books open so that the moment you just open your eyes, the books are staring at you and you're staring at the books.
Yeah.
And you have no option but to do the work.
Yeah. You reduce the friction. You know what's so funny when you brought this thing up? I can't lie to you. This is how I've been living my life. Like when I said I've been living my life this way, I don't know if you realized it, but when you came into the studio, you saw that it was already kind of set up.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything to it. This is how it always is. This is the default setting. It's not now I have to set up the lights and do all these things. Then all I have to do to start recording. You see, it didn't take long to start. All I did was just plug in the audio box and that's it. Like, the friction. That's the one thing. I wanted to eliminate all friction possible to record a video, which would make it so much easier to record videos consistently. And that's a lesson to anybody who's trying to do something that you're trying to figure out, like you want to achieve a goal. Reduce the friction, reduce the obstacles in your way. So that's why I like to have these lights already set up, have this background already up, have this table already set. And literally, all I have to do is take this table and put it down and put this audio interface on it and I'm set. When it comes to learning, bro, literally, I kid you not, the night before, if I say tomorrow I want to wake up and learn, the night before I sleep, and I've made it to my mind, I'll set my desk up. Like, I'll put my laptop in a certain way. I'll put the book, I'll lay the book open, lay my pens there, have my calculator there, have my bag away, clear the chair. So when I wake up in the morning, I look at the table. I'm like, nah, it's very easy. I don't have to do anything. I just have to sit down. Once I sit down, the learning will start. But it's eliminating those obstacles. And so when you brought that up, I was like, yeah, bro. I forgot that I learned it from that book. Because whenever I read, like, I just pick up stuff and I don't remember where I got the stuff from.
The matchmaking. Because maybe you read copious volumes at the same time, so you can't really pinpoint why did I hear this?
Exactly. Where did you get it from? But I remember now that I got it from there. And another thing too that was so crazy is that in church this Sunday, he was also talking about this atomic habits. Yeah. Where he was talking about like change. Yeah. Changing in a person. Do you agree with that? Yeah. Would you mind explaining that for the audience, people who don't really understand what this?
He talked of two things. I think you need to reel me back. The bit of change. Reel me back in, then I'll continue. Mm-hmm. What?
So it was three things, right? The outs one was the results. Yes. Oh. Then it was from the results it was it the story or the? I
remember. Uh-huh. But let me focus on the last one because that's the one that I remember most. Identity. So what he was saying ideally, or what Pastor Gabe was saying and what he was borrowing from Atomic Habits was it's way easier to first pick up the identity that I'm the person who works out and the person who's dedicated and the person who is a goal-getter. Then from then on, incorporate the activities that are depictive of that person. Mm. Like, for example, you say, I want to become a phenomenal swimmer. Then what does a phenomenal swimmer do? A phenomenal swimmer does X, Y, Z. Then now let me do X, Y, Z. Because if X, Y, Z is what a phenomenal swimmer does, then by virtue of doing X, Y, Z, I shall become a phenomenal swimmer.
Hmm. I think that's why when they're talking about like changing the identity, right? There are a lot of things that you would need to do to fully change the identity. Because I feel like how our brains are wired is we have a certain bias of results.
Being very result
oriented. And exactly, and it's like, okay, I say I'm this, as you said, I say I'm this, but I don't do the things that are said, the things that are attributed to this character trait. So am I really that? And when there is an inconsistency with that, that tends to affect you yourself, your belief in what you even claim you are and who you are. Exactly. Which then leads to now people being confused about their identity, confused about what they are meant to do or who they are as a human being. And so that's why I wanted to break that down in the sense of if you're trying to change something, you have to understand that it's not only about saying I'm not this or I am this. Number one, no one is anything. Like I can't lie. The notion of saying something like, oh, I'm a morning person or I'm a nice person. You are not. You say you are because you just want to. You are not a morning person. You're not a nice person. You're a person. And depending on the situation, you can become a nice person or you can become a morning person. Unless it's me something that is medically something like that you have a medical condition or something like that. If you are fine, you are a healthy person, and you don't have anything wrong with you, saying I'm a morning person doesn't make sense. And me, I do that all the time. I always say that I like sleeping in. But there's a time in my life when I'll tell you that I like waking up early. So honestly, I feel like human beings, our identity is dynamic. But there are a few things like the values that remain constant. It's only when those values start to change that's when we kind of lose a foothold of who we are. And so, talking about this identity stuff, like I know that we are going places, but we are going to a correct place. Don't worry. Going towards identity, changing your identity is the foundation of changing who you are as a person. I think it's not only identity, because in order to change identity, you have to change certain things related to identity, such as the results or the stories that you say about yourself. Self-story. This is something that I constantly talk about all the time, is the words that you use to describe yourself. They're very powerful. There's I mentioned this in I think my first video ever. I've forgotten the effect it was. Let me see if I can remember the effect. It is a weird name, bro. Some effects about when you say something, your brain looks for evidence to support that claim. So if I make a certain claim that I'm a morning person, my brain will look for certain claims to support that claim of me being a morning person. So in the sense of, let's say if I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm tired, that's evidence that maybe I'm not a morning person.
It's exactly what I mentioned earlier on.
Mm-hmm.
People construct meaning from their life experiences.
Yeah.
It's what we human beings do. We are purpose driven, we are thirsty for meaning, and we try to construct meaning from our life experiences. And from then on, we tell ourselves certain narratives, and those narratives inform how we act, how we think, and how we think informs how we act, and how we act informs the results we get. And because those are the results we get based on the narratives that we had, it reinforces the loop once again.
Yeah.
And it reinforces the message in your brain that, like you said, I'm not a morning person, or I'm a night owl. We find such beautiful words. Night owl. I'm a night owl.
Nice ways to explain something. It's very easy. And I even want, this is going into the last topic before we start closing out this podcast. It's the notion of words. So one thing that I've realized is we have way more emotions than we have words to describe them. And when I say something like that is, if I say I'm angry has different ranges. Degrees of anger. So instead of saying I'm angry, maybe saying I'm disturbed, or saying I'm uncomfortable, or saying that maybe I'm frustrated. They all describe different things. And the point I'm trying to make is that as human beings, we attach emotions to certain words. So me saying I'm angry, from my perspective, anger could maybe mean that I didn't get what I wanted to get. But to you, anger could be like, I have this deep quenching, some fire in me that I have to release. Such an intense emotion. But to me, it could mean something that's different. And so I think as human beings, that's kind of what leads to the miscommunication in a lot of situations. Is that the emotion and the definitions that we attach to the words are inconsistent with each other. So honestly, I think that this is kind of like a place trying to get you to expand your vocabulary, to find different words that describe exactly how you feel, because the words in this language are not enough to describe how you feel in certain situations. So you can't just wake up and just say, I'm not feeling well. Like, I'm not feeling well, okay? You need more from that. And so I just honestly, I don't know where exactly I'm going with this, but it's something that I always think about all the time. And I just want to know your thoughts on that.
Interesting. So I have 3 people in mind. The first person, a guy called Malcolm Gladwell.
I know
right?
that.
You know Malcolm Gladwell?
Yeah.
Phenomenal gent. So he was saying that someone asked him, why you're a journalist? And he said, I'm a journalist because I have too many experiences, but not enough words or not enough methods to articulate my experiences. That's why something that's very unique to Adam Grant and Malcolm Gladwell is naming. They normally have this very catchy way of playing with words and giving words or giving names to experiences that all of us had or have had, but have never had a chance to articulate them. That's what they do. And a guy called Chris Williamson, the Modern Wisdom podcast, he said that the extent to which I can't remember word for word verbatim, but he said the extent to which I can express my experience of the world is limited by the depth of my vocabulary. Then he had a ricochet and continued that the depth of my vocabulary is, can't really call, is indeed attached to how I experience the world. So he did this correlation, this link between how our ability to articulate the world we live in today and our experiences has a direct correlation to the experiences themselves of how we have of them. And these three people, Malcolm Gladwell, Adam Grant, and Chris Williamson, are phenomenal linguists who have such a captivating way, riveting way, so as to say, of putting words to experiences and emotions that we all have, but can't say it.
Yeah.
And it plays such a fundamental role
In understanding emotions. I think that is true. That is true. Bro, Socrates. This has been an interesting episode. This has not been the usual direction that I have with episodes, I must tell you. Normally we go into so many so many things like why you do what you do and like these type of questions and stuff like that. Today I just wanted to have these type of conversations, just bring about these questions. If you are listening to this and you also are kind of, this conversation has brought about questions, feel free to ask them in the comment section. I'll also put this guy, your socials, Instagram, I'll put your Instagram somewhere over here as well, and your YouTube. You guys, bro, please just go and follow the guy, watch his channel, watch some of his videos. It be popping, bro. It be seriously popping. And yeah, I think I already answered the question. Like, if people want to reach you, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Instagram, as always.
Instagram.
I always respond to text.
Yeah, Instagram. So I'm gonna put his Instagram here. I also probably put it in the description as well. So make sure you guys go and follow the brother, man. Like, he's actually doing stuff. He's doing things that are very inspiring. And if you guys also enjoyed the little French bit, put it in the comments too. If you've enjoyed that. And Socrates, I have this one thing. So actually two things. One, I kind of forgot to do the Ask Billy.
The what? Ask Billy.
I forgot to ask Billy
Mm-hmm.
the question that he had for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my bad. What I'm going to do is I'm rather going to ask you the question that the guest before that asked, and then we'll just continue like that. So basically, what this is that the previous guest asks a question to you, and you ask a question to the next guest. So I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. We don't know who the next guest is going to be, but fun times. So the questions from the previous guest, there were two people. There was a couple. And the first question was, if you could change anything about yourself, what would it be and why? And then the second question is, if right now you were standing before God and he asks you, why should you enter heaven? What would your answer be?
So should I attach a third question, or should I respond to the first two?
Respond to the first two and then you can answer that one.
Okay, so let me respond to the first one. Something that I will change about myself is I tend to live in my head too much. Too much. I'm sure it's fine and beautiful having a philosophical mind, where you get to think about things very critically, analytically, and very philosophically. It's a beautiful thing. It's a skill to have. It's very rewarded in the world we live in today. It's incredibly rewarded. However, the drawback is I live too much in my head. Too much. To the extent that I can be oblivious of the world that's happening around me. Or I might even overthink situations and misconstrue them. Or there's a misalignment between what the other person experienced or did and how I perceived the same situation. And it plagues me unnecessarily. And you suffer in your head unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just unnecessary suffering.
Yeah.
Right? My friend told me, live life and let life live. It's a very catchy expression. Live life and let life live. So you live life and let life live itself. Because with or without you, life continues. It's important to remember that. So that's what I will tell myself, right? And that's what I will advise myself. If I was in front of God and I was to justify why I need to enter into the gates of heaven, I mean, that's a tough one. Because all the things that we've done, all our accolades, are nothing but filthy rags before him. You cannot say, God, I have merited my way into heaven. You don't merit your way. God, I have volunteered my way into heaven. You don't volunteer your way into heaven. God, I have done philanthropy my way into heaven.
Yeah.
You can't. And there's no amount of intellectual activity that you can engage in to try to position or air out your grievances or your case to justify why you need to get into heaven. Anything that you're going to say is going to be some intellectual activity that is nothing but a filthy rag before God. So what if you did philanthropy? So what if you volunteered? So what? And it's very explicitly stated in the Bible that it's not by acts, but by faith. So there's no form of arbitration or skillful negotiation that can merit your way into it.
There's nothing that you can say. Only by the blood.
Yeah. Or else it's just going to be intellectual activity.
Yeah, nah. Yeah, that. You know, it's so funny. I was low-key a little. I wouldn't say skeptical, but I was a little like, I didn't know whether, I was a little hesitant to ask that question because I didn't know how you would respond to that question. But I must say, the response that you gave right now, it is definitely in line with what Billy said last 2 weeks. And that should just tell you something that, it should tell you something about Christianity, one. The fact that I didn't even know you were going to say, I just have faith that you just speak your mind. And honestly, it is true that your acts don't mean anything. Anything that you do here, you can't merit your way, as you said, into heaven. And that the only way that you do get into heaven is by the blood of God and by the redemption, by faith. And that's exactly what Billy said last week. He did the same thing, that nothing that he does will ever get him into heaven. And it's only because of God's mercy that will get him into heaven. And so it's not because he is good, but it's because God is good.
Yeah.
You understand?
Because anything else is just intellectual activity.
Yeah. It's just jargon at the end of the day. It's not anything. Bro, that's yeah. You answered the question. You answered it well.
Thank you.
Now it's your time to ask the question. Keep in mind, I don't know who the next guest is going to be.
Yeah.
It can be anybody. So feel as free. You can ask any question you want. As hard, as easy.
As hard, as easy. Let's see, where's my mind at right now?
Like the video.
I don't overthink this too much. I just want it to be very simplistic. Yes. Very simple. What was the defining moment in their life that made them who they are today?
The defining moments in your life.
Defining moment.
That made you. That's a very beautiful question.
Because there is a defining moment. If you sit back and really, 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 really think back to talk about decisions and Descartes' decisions, how you catch yourself from various possibilities.
Yeah.
There was a point where catching yourself from that possibility changed everything. Just to close this off, the defining moment in my life was when I was in high school. I was rushing for geography class. I saw someone who had gotten accepted in Columbia University, the Ivy League in New York. I saw him around 100 meters from where I was. He was walking away and I was late for class. So I ran to him and I said, hey, he's called Nehemiah. I said, hey, I heard that you got into Columbia University, right? And also want to study abroad. Could you give me your number? At that time, I was very scruffy, just some beat up kid, right? So I had a piece of paper, some rubbish in my pocket and a pen. Very greasy pen, the ink just, horrific. So he wrote his number. I put the number in my pocket, then he went away, right? I finished my exams in the month of January, February, thereabout, 2023. I called him. Then from then on, we met up. Then he mentored me on how to apply to universities abroad. The entire process, he guided me through the intricacies of the program. And he is the one who told me about the Huntsman program, the one that I'm in right now. And he told me, Socrates, I've interacted with the best scholars that this country has to offer, and I've not met anyone else who is fine-tuned for this program other than you. You might not be confident in yourself about getting in, but I'm confident in you. So work with my confidence, work with my faith, and let's do this. I'm here. If I didn't run to that guy, this conversation will not be happening.
Yeah.
That was the defining moment. It's so vivid in my head. And interesting, the defining moments might not even be grand while they're happening.
Yeah.
But just sit down
And reflect.
And be like, so I'm here on this podcast because I met Tristan. I met Tristan because I got to ANC Church. I got to ANC Church because someone reached out to me. Someone reached out to me because I was walking on this path. Why was I walking on this path? Because I was coming from the DN. Why was I coming from the DN? I'm like, because.
Yeah. Because you got to UPenn.
Yeah.
That's powerful. What was the defining moment in your life? Yeah. That changed everything. That made you who you are today.
Yeah.
That's very powerful. Socrates, you are filled with wisdom and very interesting ideologies and thoughts. And this leads us to the last thing of today's episode, which is saying of the day. It can be anything that you've seen, heard, a quote, a Bible verse, whatever it is that comes to your mind. Just one thing that you would like to close us off with.
Yes. Saying of the day, actually, it's a song by Cleo Soul. And this is what she says. So Cleo Soul she says, Cleo Soul is an artist. She sings alternate music, indie music, and she's a soul artist. R&B, no, soul. Cleo Soul sings soul music. And her music is an avenue through which she expresses her emotions and gives glory to God through very subtle and interesting ways. It's R&B, but it has a very interesting twist that's very deep and introspective. And she says, if you're alive, there's no excuse. God gave you a gift that you don't know yet how to use. Get out of your mind. You can't lose this one time. So if you're alive, there is no excuse. God gave you a gift, and it's up to you to use. It's very lyrical. The song is Life Will Be by Cleo Soul. And it ties back to the book of Luke chapter 4 verse 12. It says, to those whom much has been given, much is expected. So that's it.
Wow. I also have my quote. It's very simple, and that's something that I don't know where I saw it from, but it's this. One day or day one. You choose.
Yeah.
That's it. Short and sweet.
It's short and sweet. I love that. It's either one day or day one. You choose.
Exactly. The decision is up to you. So, bro, is there anybody that you would like to see come on this show? Anybody that comes to mind?
I would say Billy, but now you have Billy. You already put Billy on front. I'll have to think about it. Then I'll shoot you a text.
All right, no problem. Guys, as I said before, bro, it's Instagram. Everything, like, just let him know that you guys came from here and you guys are messing with what he's doing. Go ahead and encourage him on his journey. Yeah, are you continuing with the YouTube?
Of course. School is demanding, but we'll just find a way.
Yeah.
We'll find a way
to do that. Exactly. We're going to do that. So, yeah, man, if you guys are messing with what's going on the channel, please subscribe. I think we're almost at 600 subscribers. We are growing slowly. Yes, slowly. We're really pushing. I'm actually so thankful for the people who have subscribed, who have followed on this journey, who have sent me messages. Guys, if my videos have helped you in any way, if my book has helped you in any way, if anything that I've done has helped you in any way, seeing the words, seeing like the impact has really been heartwarming for me, and that is something that really does keep me going. And so a very big thank you to everyone who has been impacted by this, who watches this, who supports this. And honestly, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't know that it was going to help people. I would not be doing this because, like, as much as I say that this is for me, like, I'm doing this because I like it. I do like it, but then I like the fact that other people are getting impacted by it more than I like it for myself. So honestly, thank you guys so much. Like, I know I'm talking a lot about this thing, but yes, it's just a very big thank you. We have bigger things happening on the show. We are continuing to grow, and if you guys appreciate what's going on, please leave a subscribe, comments. Like, you guys know what to do on the videos. We just show love, and yeah, man. Without further ado, I believe in you. We believe in you. Go and make the world a better place, and remember, don't just live life, but thrive.
I love it.
Yeah, man. That's the show.